Hey, I'm Jusko from ProbableMoney.com. I just got off the waitlist and am now a beta tester for the Curve card here in the United States, the sort of all-in-one credit card, the one card to rule them all. So in this video, I'm going to do a little unboxing, unenveloping of the card, and then also talk about what I know of it so far, a sort of initial review, initial thoughts on it, and the setup process, some things that look like they are pretty interesting and some things that look like obvious disadvantages. Now, before I do that, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not already, and if you have already, I thank you for doing so. So the concept of the sort of one card to rule them all, consolidate all your credit cards and debit cards into one to maximize rewards, maximize convenience. This is not anything new, but the companies so far, the startups in the US that have tried to do this have crashed and burned mostly before they ever even got a real product on the market. So people have been excited about it, but it actually has not come to fruition. Now, Curve has already done it in the UK, and it has had some uptake. They have now come to the United States, and they are setting up the Curve card with a number of beta testers. If you don't know what beta means, it basically means you're sort of the initial people that they are using it with to see how things go, which means sometimes things don't go maybe as well as you would hope with a finished product. So I'm going to try to take that into account here as well. So when I knew Curve was coming to the US, I got myself on the waiting list and then recently got an email inviting me to be a beta user. When you get that invitation, you have to download the Curve app and then you set everything up through there, which is a pretty common thing these days, especially in the fintech financial technology space. So once I had things set up and, essentially said, yes, I want to be a beta user, they automatically send the card out to you. So as you can see, it is just a white envelope. It's not really an unboxing so much, but I'll show you at least what they gave me here. Pretty minimal in terms of presentation. Inside here you have your Curve logo on the front, and then you open it up. And it's just got a little bit of text here along with the card. It says new kid on the blocks, which I don't really know what that means. Maybe because there are blocks on the card. I don't know, maybe I'm missing something here in terms of what that means. And then underneath there it says, just landed, you're officially ahead of the ... Yeah, we won't go there. So I assume what that means is like you're officially ahead of the curve, right? But that must mean that I'm ahead of the curve on Curve because I'm a beta tester. That's how what I take that to mean. That's how I understand their marketing. And then you can see the card on there. It does have all of these black and red and white blocks. You can also see that it is a MasterCard. And then I can't show you all the back because there's all kinds of numbers on there, but I will tell you it is just a regular old plastic card. It is not metal. I think it might be metal in the UK, or maybe you can get it in metal because I think there are different levels. It's a little bit different product here in the US. And then on the back, it's got all the numbers and says Curve back there, and I'm not going to show you all those numbers. But anyway, a pretty minimal product in terms of what they actually send in the mail. So the idea behind the Curve card is that you take all your other credit cards, all your other debit cards, you load them essentially onto this card. You do that through the Curve app, and then you only have to use this one card, but you can still maximize your rewards while you're also maximizing your convenience because the charges that go onto this card are going to funnel through essentially to the correct credit card in order to maximize your rewards, or for whatever reason you might want to choose one card over another, and debit cards as well. And so there are two ways that this can happen in terms of the purchase getting on the correct card. Number one is you can set up what they call smart rules, which basically says if it's a grocery purchase, use this card. If it's a gas purchase, use this card. If it's a purchase over $1,000, use this other card that maybe has a higher credit limit or has a 0% offer or whatever. So for whatever reason you want to use any particular card, you can set up these smart rules, and it is supposed to check the rules and make sure that the charge goes to the right card. Now again, we're in this beta testing stage here in the US, and from some of what I've seen online, things don't always get funneled into the correct place, or in some categories for whatever reason they can't make them go on the correct card. Not quite sure what is going on. So obviously these are some of the things that they are probably trying to work out. Now, the second way that your charge can go onto the correct card, and hopefully if things don't go right in the first way, you can just correct it in the second way, because you can go in and say, well, this card was or this purchase was charged to card A, I really want it on card B, and you can actually make that change after the fact. So if it went on card A, you can be like, nah, I want it on card B, take it off of that, put it onto that. So that, I'm not really sure how Curve is working that, but that is the concept there. And you have some sort of window of opportunity, maybe 14 days after the purchase if you want to switch from one card to the other. Now that all sounds great as a promise, but here in the beta stage, there is one huge hurdle that the Curve card is going to have to overcome in order for it to be something that has any chance of being used widely. And that is the fact that not all of the payment networks can now be used with this card. So I have loaded some of my credit cards onto it, but right now the only credit cards that can be loaded onto this card are MasterCard or Discover card. So no Visa, no American Express, and then on the debit card side you do have Visa, MasterCard, and Discover, no American Express there either. So I don't know if American Express is ever going to hop on board with this concept, but at the very least, I think they need to have Visa, MasterCard, and Discover are not going to cut it in terms of the credit cards. If you want to have one card to rule them all and you have two major payment networks that are not part of it, well then obviously that is a hurdle that I think is, you know, kind of a business killer. So they have to make at least Visa get on board with this card in order for it to work. So far I've loaded 4 credit cards onto this. It was mostly an easy process, although you do have a verification process where you have to go in and find a certain code that Curve has sort of put in your either your bank statement or your credit card statement. You have to find that code and then give it to them in order to verify that that actually is your account, which is no big deal, except for with the Discover card, it took a lot of searching for me to find that code because Discover's online, sort of default way that they show things did not show the code. So I had to like kind of monkey around for a while and finally find that if I went to like, I think the last year of transactions, somehow I could click a plus button and something would finally come down that showed me the code, but it was not apparent. With the other cards, it was apparent right off the bat. I think I did Chase and Citi for the other cards and I could find the code with no problem. Now, one of the other aspects to this card, and it's something that I don't know if Curve totally made it clear in the onboarding process, but not only are you putting your credit cards onto this card, but this is sort of a credit card a little bit on its own, or at least has sort of like a backup credit line. And so you actually are getting a credit line of, at least in my case, and I assume this is true of other people, it's for the most part it's what I've seen, of $500, and an APR is shown of 12.99%. Now my understanding is the only time that would kick in is if maybe, your credit card was declined, and that would be a way for you to still be able to have a purchase go through. But in my mind, I didn't really want a new credit line. So far, I haven't seen any sort of hard inquiry or any inquiry, to be honest with you, on my credit report from this. So that in that way, it hasn't hurt my credit, but I assume I'm going to have a new account showing up on my credit report with a new $500 credit line. And I'm not really thrilled about that, to be honest with you, because I wasn't really going after this card to get a new credit line. I was going after it for the sort of, consolidating all your cards into one aspect. So that's really it. I'm going to use the card for, I don't know, probably the next month or so, see how it goes, see how easy it is to set up those smart rules and if they actually work, and how easy it is to switch between cards if you find out that you want your rewards from a different card than the initial purchase, all of that kind of stuff, and I will report back on that. Now, as I look at this card today, sort of 2 big questions that I have about it, and I've sort of talked about them. Number 1 is, do enough people want a card like this for this to be something that can work? I'm not sure what the business model even is here on this card, because not only am I getting the rewards, but I think on the front end for like the first 6 months or so, I'm getting an extra 1% cash back on all of my purchases as well as sort of a bonus. So I'm not really sure where they're making their money. Maybe it is somehow they are getting a cut of the transaction by sort of inserting themselves into the middle of the transaction. Or maybe it's sort of a loss leader for the fact that, Curve is going to start by offering this, and then just like everybody else does, they're going to move into all the other banking products, and soon enough they'll want you to be getting your checking and your savings and all your other stuff from them as well. So I'm not really sure how that is going to go. But how many people want this to begin with? I don't know. I don't know how many people really care about consolidating all of their credit cards into one. And then number 2, obviously, like I just said, is if they can't get Visa on board, I think this is dead in the water. It would be nice to have American Express, but maybe you could still have a successful product without American Express. But obviously, if they had all of them, that would make it way better. So that is it. I'm pretty interested to use this card to see how it works and to see if it's something that, I find to be a great convenience. Right now, I don't really care that much about pulling out a different credit card and thinking about which credit card to use. So the idea of consolidating all of them isn't that much of a revelation for me, but maybe if I set up these smart rules and only have this one card and I use it all over the place and it really works, then, maybe I'll feel like it really is a good thing. My worry is that what will actually happen is instead of having to think about what card to use on the front end, I will find out that either these smart rules didn't work the way they were supposed to, or I have to spend the time, switching a purchase from one card to the next, and that's just time to spend on the back end instead of on the front end when I was actually making the purchase. So we will see how that goes. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the concept of this one card to rule them all, and if this is something that you would want and that you would spend the time to load your cards on and all that kind of stuff. Put your thoughts in that comment section below. Otherwise, I thank you for watching, and as always, please go to proudmoney.com where we do credit card reviews, we talk personal finance, we talk deals, and all sorts of other fun stuff too. If you are not going to leave a comment or go to the website, you should watch this video right here.